Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Inspired Ideas podcast and YouTube experience. My name is Diane Cunningham Ellis. I am thrilled to be here with one of my new friends and connections, and her name is Monica Wayts. And she is a brand new member, a pretty new member to our Braver Together Mastermind. We met, she's an artist, if you can't tell. If you're watching the video, you can tell. She's an artist, and we bonded really quickly over art, over creativity. We are both kind of the wild spirit, colorful girls. And we met at this conference, but we'll get to all that. I just want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, Monica, and the name of your business.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here and chat with you again. I'm Monica Wayts. I'm an artist from Grand Prairie, Texas, and I specialize in string art signs, which is nailed art, do-it-yourself kits, and in-person workshops. And for the visual people.
Yes, awesome. I love it. I love it. So now I know that you have a background as a teacher. And that's just one of the cool things about you. So tell us a little bit. We talk here all about how an inspired idea takes us into unknown territory. Okay. And so I know you were a teacher. I don't really know how long. I don't know what led you to leave teaching. So tell us a little bit of the backstory about your teaching career and then how you merged over to become the artist, a string artist.
Absolutely. So yeah, I had a passion for littles. I taught for 12 years, kindergarten, first grade, 11 years in first grade. My last year was in kindergarten. And I love to integrate a lot of art activities with our curriculum. They could shine. If they couldn't shine academically, maybe they could shine a little bit artistically. And I just loved seeing that blossom in these little 6-year-olds. Every day was the greatest day ever. And I hung the moon, so I felt pretty important. But yeah, my daughter at the time was 10, and so I got to keep having new children every year and get to send them home every day at the end of the day. But yeah, I loved it. The politics kind of got in the way, and we bought a house and we moved, and I didn't want to commute, even though it wasn't that far. I didn't really want to commute, so I actually subbed another year in my local district, which I loved. I tried all the things. I was a PE aide, an art aide, a music aide, taught K through 4. So it was just a lot of fun to just kind of just be around kiddos still. Because that's what my passion was being around kids, exposing them to new things. Yeah, that teacher hat it's ingrained in me now.
So how did you what year did you launch your Little Bits of Mona?
2017.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a big transition time. I left teaching, I was subbing, and then I left subbing, and I was actually like an office manager at a local jujitsu store, or I guess gym. But I kind of started doing this art thing again. It kind of just came back to me once we moved. I was like, I want to get back into my art. There was a calling, and I was just like, what is this? And so I actually got laid off from the gym, and so I was like, now what am I going to do? But I was creating, and one of my teacher friends, I kept in contact with them, had like a little blogiversary giveaway. And so I created a little apple and pencil, and that was really well received by teachers online. I was getting orders, and I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? My daughter had encouraged me to open an Etsy shop, and I was like, no, that's for artists. Because at the time, I did not consider myself an artist. I was just creating and having fun. And then I did like my first craft fair. And let me tell you, I took Tums all the night before, all the next morning, the whole day. I was so stinking nervous. And then even after that, every time I had a new event, I would map it out in my garage, because I needed to know how I was going to set up. It was just, I put so much pressure on myself to have it perfect, because it was new to me. But it's a passion now. I get to keep my teacher hat on because I do the workshops, and I do at my larger events, I'll do make and takes. So I'll have adults and children actually sit down and do a little 3x4 art piece. And that's just so fun.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. And I know you were just at, I know you go to these vendor fairs, you go to
Yes.
uh, what's it called? Art fairs. And so you get to be out in the public.
Yes.
Now, this is good and challenging, right?
Yes.
Good and challenging. And so you get to see people's eyes light up when they come towards your booth. You get to see them touch things, feel things. And sometimes when we work in the digital land, we don't get that as much, right? Like we're selling a package instead of a product, right? So what are some of the things you've learned since what are some of the, what have you learned about yourself? Let me ask you that. What have you learned about yourself being a businesswoman and an artist? Because I'm an artist as well. And that kind of came to me kind of sideways, and as a shock and awe moment in my life. but but it's like once I remember the day that I walked, that I painted for the first time, and had just gone through a divorce, and I was just so, I don't know, broken apart, and
Yeah.
I painted, and it was so transforming for me.
Mhm.
So much of a freedom. It was like a freedom that's cracked open. And so I was borrowing the supplies from somebody that had everything, the whole setup. And so the next day I was like, well, I need to go to Hobby Lobby. And I don't know how much I spent, but I did a number on it. But I got some little starter set of the things I thought I would need. But I remember just walking out of my house feeling different.
Mhm.
Do you relate to that? Feeling like, oh,
Absolutely.
I'm an artist. Artists can dress like this, or what would an artist do? So was there this transition for you in this like mindset of being an artist?
Absolutely. Like I said, when I started, I didn't consider myself an artist. I mean, I was like, I'm not a crafter, but what am I? It's like this missing piece. But now I proudly call myself an artist. And over the last few years, I have shifted. It's shifted me. I know it's become therapeutic for me. So that's why I want to get my kits and my workshops out there, because I know that will reach other people on a different level too. Yeah, it's fun to create, but there's something very soothing about just doing this repetitive actions. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that will help other people. When I have my booth set up and the people spot something from like 10 feet away and they go immediately and pick it up, that's just like, oh, it's a piece of my, they're all a piece of my heart. That's part of my business name, Little Bits of Mona, because every piece is made with a piece of my heart. And so when they are struck by something and just immediately react to it, that just brings me so much joy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know I did the same thing when I met you at the conference. Yeah.
Yes.
So I met Monica at this conference, and we weren't sitting anywhere near each other, but I
Yeah.
was out doing what I do, mixing, mingling, and meeting people. And because I actually love people, sounds like you do too. And so when I saw one of her pieces, which it was, I'll just pull it for those that are watching the video. If you're on this podcast, you're missing out. But I saw this piece and I just said, well, that's mine. That's mine.
The ombre row of hearts. Yes.
Yes, a beautiful row of 6 hearts, all different colors of red and pink. And so I know that exact feeling. Anything else you had that day, I didn't care about. Care about, because I don't need Texas, like a Texas
Yeah.
in my house, and I don't. So when art speaks to you, it transforms you, and oh, that's for me. That's for me. And so yeah, we got to meet each other that day. So tell them a little bit about what's been happening since you and I met.
Oh my gosh, I've been so inspired. Yeah, we had what'd you call it?
Power Hour.
Power hour. Yes. You presented and then you came around with your bubbly personality, and I was just like, I need more of this woman. I was drawn to you just like you were drawn to my art. I was drawn to your energy and your passion. And so I had to have more. And just that one clarity call, it kind of helped propel me to see myself differently, not just, I mean, I am a small business, but not keeping myself small.
Mm,
I know when I write my thank you notes, when I send my gifts off, I caught myself writing, thank you for supporting my small shop. And I'm like, just say my shop. Why are you making yourself small? And
wow.
so it's just been this transformation of just seeing myself in a new light, and that there is a way to do more with my art.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an endless possibilities in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what I love. That's why I called this podcast Inspired Ideas, because first of all, I just wanted to be able to talk about whatever I want. But one idea can change everything.
Yes.
One meeting somebody can change
Hmm.
everything for you. And I know that's happened for me so many times. And so I always want to put myself in situations where I can be transformed by someone else. And the transformation happens between us. And
Yes.
so when did you decide you wanted to join the Braver Together Mastermind, and how has that come about?
Well, you had a flyer on your table, and I asked you about it, and I was just like, what is this about? I had heard about masterminds, and I knew it was important that when you joined a mastermind, it had to be of like-minded people and just those that are striving for more. And I was like, how am I going to meet that group? Where am I going to find them? So it's been in the back of my mind, and then just meeting you and seeing that, and just after our power hour, and then just you did a 5-day business challenge and visibility challenge, and I loved it. And I thought, I've got to have more of this woman. I've got to have more. And so then I took that leap, and that's where I am now. And it's like when you find the group that you're meant to be with, it's like going home. It's like, oh, I found my sisters, and that's what it's become.
I love it. And you've only been Yeah, it does feel like that. And I can't wait. For those listening, we have 2 live events every year, and that's kind of been our new rhythm. We've done more than that. It's been all over the place for 9 years of different groups. And so we're in a good rhythm now, and we have 2 live events. And so you're going to get to come to the next live event.
Yay!
And so wait till you get to meet your sisters in real life
Yes.
and spend time, and I mean, the power of a mastermind. I didn't understand it myself. And
Right.
I it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain what happens in a mastermind. It's hard to explain what happens on one of our Zooms, and definitely hard to explain what happens in a live retreat event gathering. So you have to ask people what it's like, and then translate that across, which is sometimes hard to translate. But the synergy, the connection, the collaboration, the community, the calling out, the calling up, right? I mean, we're going to call each other out, but we're going to
Yes.
call each other up to where we're going to allow ourselves to hold space,
Yes.
to not be small, to not be a small business, right?
Right.
Because you can be a big business.
Absolutely.
So where do you see your business headed as you are looking off into the future? Where do you see your artist experience going?
Well, I'm working on starting a subscription box. So that is currently in the works. And then having more regularly scheduled in-person workshops.
Mm-hmm.
I have a
And
collaboration going with a local brewery, and we'll be at another one in October. So just having those more regularly scheduled,
mm-hmm.
so people know where to find me locally.
Right. And any plans for any virtual workshops?
That's been a thought in my head. I'm still trying to put those pieces together.
I know you just launched your Facebook group and you're very active
Yes.
also on Instagram. So tell me a little bit about how you gather up your community.
Well, I always have a little giveaway at my in-person events, and I do that and as an exchange for their email address. So I get a lot of email signups there. Um, I just try to, share my love of art and hope other people who share that passion will, know where to find me.
And so I want to know, what's your why, Monica? What's your why? Why do you do this?
To make art, to create, to get all my like insides outside.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, to make art, to create, to get my insides out. Yeah. Yes, I've always talked about, long before I was an artist, I used the analogy, I talked about being in business is like hanging my heart out on a shingle.
Mm-hmm.
And, and there was a shop I rented. Actually, I've had so many offices over the years. Oh my gosh. But there was one I rented up in Wichita Falls, Texas. It was kind of in the hood. I didn't know that because I was new to town. But I could afford it. And we repainted it. We made this, and then I expanded. I went from the small version to the big one because I wanted to have room for workshops.
Yeah.
Room for workshops. And so I had a little shingle and it said Life Inspiration Center. And it was good. It was really good. But when, we all have I guess we all have a place where we're hanging our heart out on a shingle.
Yes.
And sometimes that's our website, sometimes that's a booth, sometimes that's a book. But there's so many ways for us to reach our right fit people, to show them our why, and invite them to explore art, invite them to explore their heart, invite them to explore possibilities, really. And I get excited about it, obviously. So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you. Do you have a favorite quote or a scripture you want to share with our listeners today?
It's one that I always had on my email sign-offs, I guess, when I was teaching. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Do not go where the path may lead, but make a path and they will follow.
I love that. I love that. Well, I am just totally grateful for you. Can't wait to spend like 3, 4, or 5, I don't know how many days with you. It's going to be fantastic. And tell them where to find you on your website and on your Etsy.
Everywhere I'm Little Bits of Mona, which is Little Bits of Mona on Etsy. On my website is littlebitsofmona.com. Facebook is Little Bits of Mona, and I have a Facebook group also.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I will definitely be talking to you many, many times before we gather up in person. And for those of you listening that want to find out more and join us in the mastermind, guess what? We have a spot for you too. We totally have a spot for you, and there's room. There's room for more. So you're going to go to dianecunningham.com/mastermind. All the information is there. There's no picture yet of Monica on the page, but don't you worry, it'll be there soon. So thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you again on the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you.